Creativity is one of the hardest achievements that mankind can make. Our brain is an intensely complicated and intricate machine, yet when it comes to being creative, it is so easy for us to fall short. But why? As children, our imagination runs rampant with constant ideas, games, adventures, and so many more things to spark our creativity. But as we grow older, we begin to lose that spark. Whether it's because of our life situations, a lack of imaginative thought, or we simply move on from what some would consider childish ideas and begin to face the real world, that spark dims until it becomes nothing more than an ember of what it once was. However, many are able to reignite their creative passion as they grow, whether it be through creating art, listening to music, or a multitude of other things. Sometimes a simple idea will pop in your head and you just have the urge to bring it to life. Anything can spark this idea. A simple story that your brain weaves into an epic tale, an impossible scenario inspiring to animate outside the limits of what's possible. Even simply listening to half-heard conversations can cause your brain to fall down a rabbit hole of simply filling in the blanks of the details that you don't know. And sometimes, creativity can be created simply by just watching others use their own creative process to achieve something great. Like this channel here that you're watching right now. The idea to do all of this came from a multitude of other content creators doing something similar. Nightmind, Nexpo, Wendigoon, Sinister Heart, Voices in Your Headphones, Pagan Valley, and so many others discussing topics that I was interested in helped me have an idea of what this corner of the internet entails, and my thoughts on several stories, channels, and web series began to overflow onto my own little platform. But with this style of inspired creativity comes one glaring fault. The idea that your creativity isn't even really yours. That you merely saw what others did and wanted to jump on the bandwagon of what was successful. Creators aren't the only ones with these initial thoughts. There are people across the internet and across the entire globe who can look at someone's work, find some similarities between them and a larger, more well-known factor, and simply say, well, it's just a knockoff of X, or stop copying and trying to be like Y. Those comments can stifle even the most creative of minds. How can we expect to put our heart and soul into a project that will only garner harsh comments and non-constructive criticism? How can we put our ideas into the world if the world will only compare us to those who came before? This is the turmoil that plagues the YouTube channel AI Builds, a moderately sized channel showcasing the multitude of builds for a developer's game known as Animal Investigator. Now, this series has some very inspiring messages and ideas that I want you to keep in mind as we go forward through this series. So, go watch the series, and I'll be here waiting for you to return. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the series as much as I have and are just as excited, if not more so, than I am to talk about the content within this series. This video will contain content and images that some may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. In the first episode, we are shown a series of questions that are answered fairly quickly by our point of view character, who we discover is the developer of Animal Investigator itself.
Hey guys, so this is just to prove to you that I have not given up on developing this game. I've just been a little out of inspiration lately, you know, but I thought I would show you the progress I made as of recently. It's not that much, but I'll show you. So now I do actually have a character select screen. It's nothing that special. I probably have to... I don't really like the music. I'm probably going to polish that up and... I don't know. It's kind of rushed. But, I also added a new loading screen, which is pretty cool. What the fuck was that? I don't know what that was.
We're told that the developer, Nicholas, is making this video to prove that they are still working on their game, which it seems that they've been working on for some time in small portions. As the game loads up, we can see that it's practically empty.
But, yeah, this is what the game looks like right now. It's nothing that special. Just mainly, just kind of rocks and grass so far. It's been a very slow process, but I think by next week I'll probably have something more substantial.
Nicholas states that the rock and grass textures are really all there is for now, as he's been uninspired to work on the project, but promises to have something substantial done by the time he comes back to us, which he indeed does, just a few more weeks later than we initially thought.
Hey guys, so I'm back. This is my third build. I know I said I was gonna have something like 3 weeks ago, but I got a little sidetracked. But I have quite a bit more added since that last update. For example, I have this really big fence here to, so you don't fall off the map. Yeah. There's also sound effects. You can hear the footsteps and all that stuff. It's not very good, but I'll probably fix it later. There's a little sign here for newcomers. Yeah, thought it was cute. Are you fucking serious? Oh my god. Yeah, this happened last time. I don't know how to fix that yet, but there's this little window here, and these signs. It's kind of like a little tutorial, kind of gets you a little, a little more info on what to expect. I actually haven't finished that part yet, but, yeah. There's also these magnifying glasses, which I've not added yet either. But that should be in the next update. And lastly, this. Weird. It might be like a texture issue. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've added so far. I know it's not much, but yeah, it's a little more than I actually thought I'd get done, to be honest. I'm gonna try to get more stuff done by next week. I know I failed to deliver last time, but I'm really trying. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted whenever I've gotten more done. So yeah, see you guys.
Nicholas shows us that he has indeed made progress, even if it is quite small. A house for his character has been built, along with a giant fence around the border of the game, and some clouds that look just a tad strange. Inside the house, Nicholas shows us the tutorial papers that he's made that are meant to assign various tasks to the player of the game. Catching Mr. Ant, collecting golden magnifying glasses, and watching out for Mr. I. As Nicholas clicks on this page to show the audience, it becomes covered with the color purple, and as Nicholas turns the page to inspect the backside, the shape of a red eye begins to appear on the front. Nicholas seems not to notice, though, focusing more on the color of the page. As he leaves and informs us that he will be better with updates, we get a couple brief glances at the Mr. Ant that we read about, standing within the mountain range. There seems to be quite a few more signs in this video that something just isn't right with Animal Investigator. The mention of Mr. I in particular makes it seem as though there's something else within the game, although we're unsure at this point if it is here to help or hinder Nicholas. Build 003, Night Mode, begins with Nicholas answering some questions left on his previous update video, specifically about his inspiration for the game.
So, first question is regarding why does this game look so much, or at least seem so much like Animal Police, which is a much older game that I did not make. And the reason why is because I was a huge fan of that back when I was a kid, and I just wanted to at least borrow some of the ideas from it to put into mine because I'm such a big fan of it. But yeah, that's basically how I can answer that one.
Nicholas mentions how many people have talked about how much Animal Investigator reminds them of another game in this universe, known as Animal Police, where he specifically states that most of the inspiration for the designs and concepts of Animal Investigator came from his enjoyment of Animal Police when he was a child. Nicholas goes on to discuss the questions about Mr. Ant's appearance in the last video, and what he says is quite strange.
And to answer that question is, I already said why I wasn't going to show that, because it doesn't exist yet. Yeah, that's not a thing that exists yet. But hopefully I'll get some of that stuff done maybe the next week. I don't think I'll be able to finish that whole ant character by next week. That just seems a little ridiculous, but anything's possible.
So if Mr. Ant doesn't exist yet, then why was he here in the previous video just mere steps away from Nicholas? It's unclear how this character exists when Nicholas has yet to create him, but we know that he is definitely in the game. There's one final bit that sort of flies by while Nicholas is wrapping up his answers. A giant purple orb of some kind resting on top of the mountain. Could this be the so-called Mr. I we read about in the last video? Build 004 begins with Nicholas sounding a bit worse for wear, as he explains that he hasn't been sleeping the greatest in between these uploads. He apologizes that it's been so long since his last upload, but if we go down to the description, the uploads between Night Mode and this point 4 video are only 2 days apart, with Night Mode being uploaded on November 29th and 004 being uploaded on December 1st. So, either both of these videos were made months apart from each other and were uploaded to the channel after they had both already been made, or Nicholas is way too hard on himself on his upload schedule. Nick, buddy, trust me. After the past month or so that I've had, I understand what it's like to take a break between making videos. Taking 2 days to make an upload is nothing to be ashamed of. Nicholas proceeds to show us his new additions to his build, including some trees and the fact that he was able to fix the doorway that was giving him so much trouble beforehand. While showing us around, Nicholas stumbles across one of those golden magnifying glasses. Taken aback by this, he approaches the collectible, confused as to why it exists, as he states that the golden magnifying glasses have yet to be made into the game. Regardless, Nicholas picks up the magnifying glass and proceeds to show us around the forest he's created, showing us trees that all appear to have the same model duplicated across the area. Upon showing us the final tree, Nicholas is given the option to interact. Confused, Nicholas checks the rest of the trees for this option, yet none of them can be clicked on. Nicholas returns and inspects the tree, giving himself and the viewers a short cutscene.
What? That's funny. That's funny. That's weird though. It's very weird. That's weird. It's a weird dream. I don't feel good. It's a funny feel.
Mr. Ant comes crawling out of the tree in a bizarre manner, almost as if his model has been contorted into a sort of ragdoll position. Nicholas finds the cutscene of Mr. Ant pretty funny, until he starts to feel ill as Mr. Ant grows and grows, enveloping the camera and causing the game to glitch out back to its original loading screen, ending the video. Clearly something is wrong here. Throughout the video, Nicholas seems completely out of it. At first he blames it on the lack of sleep, which can be understood, but when the cutscene begins, he sounds as if he's in some sort of daze as the scene plays out before him, and his amusement with the Mr. Ant model seems a bit troubling in the fact that, to him, nothing seems to be wrong about this at all. He just doesn't sound like himself. The next video makes this whole thing even stranger, as it begins with a repeat of Nicholas clicking on the tree that started the original cutscene in the last video. But instead of a cutscene, nothing happens at all. In fact, the tree isn't even giving him the option to interact with it. Yet Nicholas's narration is the exact one that we just heard while watching the cutscene. So does that mean that the cutscene that we just saw with Mr. Ant is all in Nicholas's head? And if that's the case, how on earth are we able to even view the cutscene that he's reacting to in the first place? Right where the dialogue cut off in the last video, we can hear what seems like Nicholas dropping something on top of his keyboard before falling silent.
Funny feel.
The player model stands under the tree in silence for a moment before it backs away from the tree and proceeds to run down the dirt path towards a building in the distance. Is this Nicholas, or something else controlling the player? After a brief loading screen, we find ourselves sitting inside a black void, where a new voice begins speaking to us. It's a bit muffled, so I've added subtitles to help make out what's being said.
Have to wake up. You have to keep walking. You have to get up. Come on.
What?
You have to. Right now. I'm in the house. I'm in the house right now.
What are you? What are...
It's time to wake up. Wake up!
What time is it? What time is it? God. I need water. I need water. What the fuck? Build 5. What the fuck? How long has it been? How long has it been? What the fuck?
Nicholas is jolted awake by Mr. I's dialogue, and seems to have no memory of Build 05 at all. Unsure of how long he's been out, Nicholas quickly cuts the video here. I absolutely love this video. It really throws you for a loop in the beginning by replaying Nicholas's reaction to the last video over footage of a player just standing still. It makes me wonder if a lot of the things that we've been seeing are actually in the game, or if they're just all twisted moments perceived by a person whose mind is edging closer to the breaking point. I'm fairly confident that the latter is probably what's going on, especially after the moment of hearing Mr. I and seeing him reflected in what I can only assume is Nicholas's bedroom mirror. The next video, Build 0.5 Storytime, kicks off with Nicholas in mid-conversation with the audience for his recording.
Pretty... Sorry, I'm distracted. I've been walking out here for like 2 hours. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was him doing this, because if you don't know, my brother Josh, kind of a dick. Yeah, like about last month, he actually made his own fake Animal Police game just to mock me. Did this whole impression of me and all that bullshit. Yeah, it's probably on YouTube somewhere, I don't know. I didn't find it very funny. I found it kind of hurtful.
Now, this whole game that Nicholas says his brother Josh created is actually an entire channel within itself that we can find here on YouTube. Searching for Animal Police video game brings us to the Animal Police YouTube channel.
Hey guys, so I just found this game in my basement, and I'm just gonna play through it a bit. So yeah, let's get right into this game. Alright.
Taking a look at the first video on the channel gives us the context as to what Nicholas is talking about. Crudely drawn assets, stereotypical quote-unquote spooky game messages, and all the other trademarks of random game I found creepypastas from back in the day. It's easy to see how Nicholas would have taken offense to this act by his brother. Seeing all your hard work that you've been slaving away at for who knows how long mocked and parodied in a cheaply made knockoff meant to degrade your talents can be upsetting to anyone.
What's this? I can't read, so...
Continuing on the walk along, Nicholas finally begins to explain what Mr. I is before coming across a dark shape in the distance.
Like Mr. I, for example, which was something I'm going to include in this one, but take it more seriously, because if you don't know, Mr. I's I don't think I actually explained this now. Mr. I's like a childhood character that I came up with, basically, like the sort of imaginary friend that I had. But yeah, I've been kind of working on this idea for a long time. There's still a lot of I'm not gonna lie about it. There's a lot of sorry, I'm distracted. There's a lot of Animal Police stuff in this game, and there's gonna be more of it, but I'm not gonna make it as obvious as like the character design and whatever. But yeah, this is. Wait, what? What the fuck is that? Wait a minute. Wait. Music. Nice job, Josh. Fucking fucked up the textures.
Nicholas goes on exploring the outside of the house, assuming that his brother was the one who added it to the game and making jabs at the job done to the textures. But while talking about the music, Nicholas gets a look inside of the house.
That's odd. What the fuck did you do?
An infant, asleep in its crib, with a mobile of butterflies playing a lullaby, bathed in the glow of a soft purple nightlight, a color we've seen before in this series. Certainly nothing that you'd expect to see in something like this, and certainly something that disturbs Nicholas. However, for the sake of his audience, Nicholas tries to stay calm and sort of laughs it off, making fun of Josh's attempts to scare him.
It's a pretty lazy attempt at scaring me, to be honest. But, yeah. It's pretty lame, dude. Pretty lame.
As he leaves, he notices a tall shape in the distance, before turning around and sprinting off in the opposite direction, ending the episode. While a bit off-putting, this episode does give us some outside world building in terms of Nicholas's own life. The mentions of Josh and the Animal Police knockoff show that this is probably one of the reasons as to why Nicholas has been so persistent about stressing the fact that the original Animal Police game references are merely that, just references. We'll learn more about the happenings in this video as the story progresses, but I want you to remember the correlation between the butterflies and this infant in the future. Build 6 is the longest episode of the series so far, clocking in at over 12 minutes. Nicholas begins the video by explaining that he hasn't really been in the best place as of late, and talks about just exactly what it is that we've been seeing throughout the series so far.
So you guys saw the video, thought I should clear something up, because, this has been haunting me for a while now. I don't think Josh added that stuff that you saw. But I don't know how it got there. Well, when I was playing the game, I didn't mention it, but I saw a butterfly fly by through my window, and shortly after that, it started happening in the game, and I thought it was just a coincidence, but I'm starting to, like, going back and looking back at what you guys have been talking about. I don't think it was a coincidence. I think there's something seriously wrong. I don't know how to explain it. I know people are just gonna laugh at me, call me crazy, but I genuinely don't know what's going on. And the weirdest part, it was probably in like the back of my mind, but I remember when I was a baby, my mom, she got me a butterfly mobile, and I guess it kind of just snuck its way into that building.
Remember that connection between the butterfly and the infant I told you about? That infant that we saw in the crib was Nicholas, or at least a memory of his. Clearly he associates this butterfly mobile, and seemingly butterflies in general, with his mother, who had gotten him the mobile in the first place. This series has quickly become less about this game's development, and more of a deep dive into Nicholas's psyche. After exploring for a few more minutes, Nicholas notices something within the house. Upon entering, he finds a computer desk inside, but lacks the magnifying glass tool required to interact with it. The tool itself is locked behind a glass case hanging on the wall of the house, and this itself requires a golden key to open it. Without unlocking the case, Nicholas is unable to interact with anything inside the game, essentially making him blind to the world around him. Nicholas begins to hunt for the key in the mountain range, walking through it until he notices something off in the distance.
Snow or something? Oh god, what the fuck is that? Is that...
It's Mr. I, scanning his glowing eye over the surrounding area, and prompting Nicholas to come out of hiding. While trying to find a place to hide outside of Mr. I's light, Nicholas stumbles across something unsettling.
What is that? Oh my god! Oh Jesus. What the fuck? What the fuck?
It appears to be a face, peering through the bottom cracks of the mountain range, looking up at Nicholas. While shaken, he takes a moment to compose himself, and begins dodging Mr. I's searchlight. Once he makes it behind the outside wall of the building, Mr. I begins to sound enraged with how Nicholas evaded him. Inside the house, Nicholas finds a note lying on the floor. Now, the top of the note is extremely hard to decipher, and there are a few things close to the bottom that are a bit more legible. Go away. Talks in whispers. Brings up personal matters. Family. Can see me. Nicholas is completely unnerved upon reading this note, and begins to panic. Is this another message directed at him from his subconscious, much like the butterflies we've seen before? Either way, Nicholas still has to retrieve the golden key. While exploring the inside of the barrier, Nicholas notices that the golden key is perched atop the roof of the house, and attempts to find a way up there. After several attempts, he is able to climb up the lamppost and onto the roof to claim his prize.
Yep, that's it. Alright, okay. And I'm not going that way. Fuck that, I'm going this way. Out of sight. Okay, hopefully I can just run past this son of a bitch. Okay. Back to the house.
Once he's made his way back to the house, Nicholas unlocks the glass case and uses the magnifying glass to inspect the computer.
Nice. Alright, let's see what's on this computer. Okay. Welcome back. What?
A series of optional activities pop up onto Nicholas's computer. Introvert Island, Animal Investigator, Perfect Child Programming, Dr. Ant's Tea Party, Face Paint, and Follow the Leader. Curious as to what his own game is doing on this list, Nicholas clicks on it first, bringing up a video by someone known as Nighttime Seminar, voiced by the real-life version of this parody, Nightmare Masterclass. Shout out to both the creator and Nightmare Masterclass for this great cameo that I was not expecting in the slightest. As Nighttime Seminar begins his review of Animal Investigator, all of the negative criticism and feedback that Nicholas has been receiving throughout this entire game's development comes back around and begins to break Nicholas down once more.
Hello, and welcome to Nighttime Seminar. My name is Davis Stockwell. I'll be your presenter on this expedition into the shadowy abyss. This is part 72 of my Animal Investigation series. In this installment, I'll be going over the 5 latest videos, builds 0.02 through 0.05, of course. Now, I know Animal Investigator has received a fair amount of criticism for being, well, there's no polite way to put this. It's completely derivative of the critically acclaimed video game Animal Police. In fact, there seems to be a ubiquitous sentiment amongst players and critics alike that Animal Investigator is a cheap ripoff of Animal Police. And that's a sentiment I share as well. I mean, it has all of the same elements. The golden key, the magnifying glass, and even the fence. It's all there, folks. And, well, here's the situation. You know when you accidentally purchase the generic version of the cereal you like, and it just doesn't taste quite as good? That's basically what Animal Investigator is. See, it only makes sense that when a masterful game like Animal Police comes out, a myriad of cheap imitators looking to make a quick buck quickly follow.
Infuriated, Nicholas quickly exits the review and stands above the desk.
These fucking people, I swear to God.
Why can't you people just fucking leave me alone?
As his voice begins to glitch and distort, Mr. I's eerie purple beacon shines down onto the house and begins talking to Nicholas.
You can calm down now. I'm right behind you. Let's do this again. Together.
It's here where we get our first good look at this almost Lovecraftian being, as the screen glows white and the video ends. This entry is wonderfully done, from the task of getting the golden key, to the surprise scare of what we will soon come to learn as Mountain Face. Everything just worked so well in this video. Plus, the game review for Animal Investigator was a great touch. Nightmare does a great job at voicing the script as if Animal Investigator was an actual game in the real world. And it really hammers home the point that a lot of game developers, or any artist for that matter, dread the most. The opinions of the public. Whether it's film, video games, or even just making videos here on YouTube, every single artist has the fear of having their own work that they pour their heart and soul into being seen as nothing more than a knockoff. This kind of brings me back to the point that I mentioned at the top of the video. Whether it's film, or video games, or even just making videos here on YouTube, every single artist here on the platform has the fear of having their hard work torn to shreds by criticism. Hell, I feel that way when I'm making these videos for you guys. There are so many good review channels that inspired me to do this whole YouTube channel thing, such as the ones I mentioned before, and a ton of others who I actively watch to see which topics I should avoid making videos on. And even then, sometimes they beat you to the punch. As of writing this script, Sagan Hawks just uploaded a video about this very topic called There Will Never Be Another Petscop, where he covers this exact series in the same style and manner that I'm presenting to you now. I'm not gonna lie, in a month where my life became crazier than it's ever been in a long-ass time, watching that video was part of the reason why I postponed this project for so long, on top of other troubles. If someone of that size and that large of an audience has already spoken on the topic, what opinions can I possibly throw into the conversation that haven't already been brought up? But then I realized that I still had things to say about Animal Investigator. and that whether or not people think I'm jumping into this project because someone else did it first, I was going to get my voice out there, goddammit. But I'm jumping way too far ahead of myself, so I'll save the rest of that point for the end of the video. But I highly encourage you to go watch Sagan's video once we finished here. It's a fantastic analysis piece on not just AI builds, but on originality as a whole. I'll put the link in both the description as well as the time card up in the top corner, so you can check it out for yourself. Getting back on track, the next build is broken up into 3 separate videos. Build 7, Memories, and Dreams. So, just to speed things along, I'm going to talk about these short videos and sort of gloss over most of them, only mentioning crucial parts of the big plot beats. Wake Up Sleepyhead shows us that Mr. I is trying to convince Nicholas to open up the door and let him into this room, which is presumably Nicholas's. He admits that he can't do this alone, whatever that means, and needs Nicholas for something. In Memories, Mr. I attempts to emotionally manipulate Nicholas by showing him some drawings that Nicholas made as a child in order to play on his past.
Hey, so, I know you're mad at me for what I've done, so I thought I'd make it up to you. I've kept your drawings you made as a kid for a very long time. I thought I'd show them to you again. Maybe you'll feel better. This was the first drawing I ever got to see you make. I watched over you as you did it, and I was so proud of you. You're such a talented person. I wish you could just let your creativity fly once again. This one you call Mountain Face. I don't know the story behind it, but it's very nice. You didn't put your name on it though for some reason. I wish I knew why. And this one means a lot to me. It's the first drawing you ever made of me. I wish you would open the door. And this is the one that reminded you of your mother. The beautiful butterfly. The one that dangled above you and kept you safe as you slept. And I know I did do a great job showing you this one. But I think, can you blame me? The butterfly went by so fast, I couldn't make out the details. I'm sorry that I ruined it for you.
However, it's not long before Mr. I's apologetic pleading turns into furious demands for Nicholas to let him in.
And I know that I hurt you many times. But that does not give you the fucking right to kick me out after how long I've been with you. So you better open the fucking door and let me in.
The final 0.7 build video, Dreams, is probably one of the most feverish, surreal videos that I've seen come out of a project like this. After failing to convince Nicholas to open the door with the drawings, Mr. I takes a more drastic approach.
Nicholas, I don't want to have to do this. When you're being terrible to me right now. You have no respect for anyone. You just lay in bed all day, dreaming. When you don't have any dreams that matter. You're just nobody. So why don't we just show the audience what you're dreaming about?
The fact that Mr. I can actually draw on Nicholas's dreams and present them to us within the game itself shows just how powerful Mr. I can be. It's here where we get more confirmation of the connection between the butterfly and Nicholas's mother. Jumping back into the actual game, Nicholas seems to be talking in his sleep, with a voice on the phone telling him that his mother should be home soon, and to open the door for her when she arrives. Clearly, this is just another tactic by Mr. I against Nicholas, but this time, it works.
Hello? Where am I? What is that? Hello?
Hey, Nicholas. Your mom's about to come home. When she comes in, comes up to your door. I want you to open it. Okay?
Oh. Who's
You
that?
got that?
Huh?
I think she's here now.
Hello?
Open
Hey.
it, open it, open it. Open the door.
Mom?
Nicholas opens the door for presumably his mother, only to realize that he let the true monster back in. Now, I don't think that this is meant to be taken as a literal action of letting Mr. I back into Nicholas's bedroom, but more of a symbolic representation of Nicholas opening up the door to some sort of past trauma, where Mr. I has been residing all of these years. This episode is easily my favorite out of all 3 Build 7 videos. Build 8 is where we can really see just how emotionally broken down Nicholas is. He's gone through and deleted just about all of the assets created for Animal Investigator. The house, trees, mountain range, and the fence are all completely gone, leaving him surrounded in this foggy state of nothingness. People wanted more of him in his vision in the game, but the more he added, the more people attacked him for it, until now we're left with this, an empty, barren field. I'm going to play bits and pieces of Nicholas's dialogue here, but I think the best way to watch this scene is in its entirety on the Animal Investigator channel.
Finally back. So this is it. This is the new build. Can I just talk to you guys for a little bit? I'm so fucking done with this just nonsense. What the fuck am I getting out of this, you know? It's just the same thing every day. How am I expected to make a fucking game if I can just barely get out of bed each day? Especially with all you fuckers telling me over and over that I'm not adding anything to the table. You guys want to see more of me in the game, more of my vision. I haven't had a vision since I was like a fucking kid. And all that's gone now. If you're wondering where everything is now, I deleted everything, because the more I just added stuff, the more I just wanted to kill myself. I can't fucking do this anymore.
Nicholas then grabs what sounds like a pill bottle, takes one, and then as if randomly, a door appears. This, along with the changing lights of the game during Nicholas's rant, further cements the notion that the game and Nicholas's subconscious are one and the same. Entering the door, Nicholas finds himself in a vast hallway with doors on either side. Once he enters, the door behind him disappears, and with it his only means of escape. But instead of being freaked out like he has been throughout the rest of the series, Nicholas seems almost familiar with this hallway, as if he's been here before.
I'm not surprised at all, to be honest. Okay. Let's go in.
Upon entering the first door, he's greeted by Mountain Face, peering out from the opposite wall looking over 2 easels. Text appears near the bottom of the screen, welcoming us to Face Paint, one of the options that we saw on the computer screen back in Build 6. The prompt encourages Nicholas to study Mountain Face carefully, and to paint his features onto one of the easels.
My creativity just flow out of me. Alright, I'm looking. Okay. Okay. Hey. What's up?
After moving to one of these easels, the childhood drawing of Mountain Face appears, and Nicholas claims that that's his.
I remember that. I wonder if I still have that.
As the drawing fades, a green and white pill appears on the easel, slowly growing in quality. Nicholas is thoroughly freaked out by this, and begins choking.
No. No, no, no.
This is probably the most terrifying part of this series so far. Hearing Nicholas choke and gag as he struggles for air is just stomach-churning to listen to. As the camera pulls away from the face paint room, Nicholas catches his breath and tries to compose himself.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Clearly, the image of the pill has a negative effect on Nicholas. Is this one of the pills that he took shortly before the door appeared? Shaken, Nicholas decides to press on and try the second door, finding himself in a field with several copies of the tree that he had made all the way back in the very beginning of the series. The title Dr. Ant's Tea Party appears near the bottom of the screen, another one of the computer games. As the game explains the instructions to Nicholas directly, he seems to just become more confused than ever.
What? Oh, I don't know what's going on anymore. Okay. Just this way.
Nicholas begins following the path and decides to turn right at the crossroad, leading towards the mountain path. While walking, the music begins to slowly break down before becoming distorted and twisted as the mountain path begins glowing red.
What? Why can't I turn around? I can't go back.
Unable to turn around, Nicholas pushes onward before the music stops entirely, and he's told that this is a dead end, and to maybe try a different path this time, before the game finally allows him the option to turn around. But before he can, the video ends. Build 008 Tea Party brings us into a new area of the Tea Party game. The world is dark and cloudy, with multiple dead trees along the side of the path. It looks like Nicholas has been playing outside of these recordings, and he's even found a flashlight while doing so. Text appears on the screen, telling Nicholas that he can still be happy again, that he still has a chance. Nicholas rejects this, but the text persists. You can find ways to feel much better. Follow the path that helps you remember. After choosing a direction, we see a tunnel at the end of the road. Nicholas seems distraught at the sight, no doubt feeling the effects of the sleep deprivation he's been suffering from for who knows how long.
What is that? I can't. What happened?
The tunnel appears to be a pill bottle, surrounded by giant versions of those same pills we saw in face paint, the ones that caused Nicholas to violently choke. More text appears on screen. You've helped paint the bigger picture. I'm starting to see everything. You do have a vision. You do have a voice. You just need to feel good. Feeling good makes you work. Feeling bad makes you hurt. I just wish you'd let me in more often. I think we'd have a lot of fun. Away from the bad. Away from the hurt. Let me in, Nicholas. I can't let you face the tunnel head on, but you can try to reverse it. Just learn not to overdo it. Don't end up like he did. Get help. Please. You are strong. We are strong. As the text disappears, the tunnel becomes interactable, allowing Nicholas to enter the tea party. Upon doing so, we're greeted with another cutscene. If you go frame by frame near the end of the scene, you can see Mr. I getting closer to Nicholas as the cutscene ends. When the video returns, the world is now empty, devoid of everything aside from the open trail. Nicholas states that he's feeling inspired, sounding a lot more like his normal self. It's as if he has no memory as to what's just happened. We'll come back to this point, but for now, Nicholas makes his way closer and closer to the end of the trail, resulting in yet another cutscene.
Hey. Talk to me. Go ahead.
I'm so glad you made it to my tea party. I say
No.
That's funny. I feel tired. Me too.
Well, that was a trip, wasn't it? Let's go over this to figure out exactly what the hell we just watched. Mr. Ant keeps pushing Nicholas to drink the tea after stating that he doesn't feel good, which is in complete contrast to how Nicholas stated he was feeling at the very beginning of this video. If taking his pills is making him feel good, is the tea supposed to counteract the pills in some way, rendering their effects on Nicholas useless? When the cutscene ends, Nicholas finds himself back in the door-filled hallway.
The fuck? What? The...
And if you thought things were crazy now, you haven't seen anything yet, as the next video is probably my favorite video in this entire series for just how insane things become. It begins with Nicholas entering the next door in the hallway, entering a poorly lit room with a chair and a television screen that's filled with static. When exploring the room a bit further, Nicholas finds a note signed with a frowny face, a figurine, and a couple posters. Nicholas picks up the note and reads it. My cheeks burn red from silly lies, red like the color of my bloodshot eyes. I long for more, yet long is time. No life is earned by wasting mine. I search and search, but to no success, despite ticking every box and passing each test. Yet here I lie in bed with my bloodshot eyes, lonely, scared, despite my many tries. Nicholas informs us that he is the one who wrote this poem, and now, just like many other things in Nicholas's life, it's made its way into the game.
I just wrote this. Wait. I don't know.
Putting down the note, Nicholas inspects the figurine. When he does, text appears, telling him to press X for a catchphrase.
Press X for a catchphrase.
That's funny.
What?
Hey guys, so this is just to prove to you
No.
that I wasn't... Why do I keep opening doors? Why can't you people just freaking leave me alone?
What in the fuck?
All of these lines Nicholas himself has stated throughout the run of the series. Yet when repeated by this figurine, they sound more whiny, more upset. I'm not quite sure the right way to describe it. Nicholas makes his way over to the couch and takes a seat as the television begins premiering the namesake of this build video, PCP. This cartoon is so insane that it's going to be hard to explain how it makes you feel if you haven't watched this entire episode before, but I'll do my best. After listening to this bangin' intro song, of course.
I wake up, then I go to bed. I wake up, then I go to bed. I wake up, then I go to bed. Wait, there's things that I still haven't said. I wake up and go outside and thank the Lord that I'm alive. Then I'll just go sing my happy song. Then I walk into the store. Then I proceed to buy some more. 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 Then I go and hit the streets just to get some healthy eats. So much food there is for me. Come and join so you can see. Now I'll go and see my friends and we'll just dance until the end of the song. This is my friend. Here he is. This is my friend. Oh, hi there, Tim. How are you? I am good. My friend Drew, why don't we go out and play? Since it's such a lovely day, we proceed to go outside and thank the Lord that we're alive. And then we'll both just sing our happy song. Happy flow is weak to us. As we then walk to the bus, then we'll both just sing our happy song. Hey, friend Drew, let's say hello to Jimmy, the other friend that we know. But look both ways before crossing the street. A car could leave you in defeat. Hey, friend Jimmy, how are you? I'm okay, Tim, Tom, and Drew. Wanna sing our happy song? We'll be singing all day long. As we go on our bus ride, we thank the Lord that we're alive. And us three will just sing our happy song.
What the fuck?
Seriously, what is up with all of these horror projects having the best music? First Paranormal Paranoids, and now this? A couple things to note, though. On the purple cereal boxes during the theme song, we can see that they're called Mr. I Cereal. Well, I guess we know who's behind this show now. Also, when we're introduced to Drew, Tim's face glitches, and Mountain Face appears overlaid onto it. The proper episode begins with Drew showing Tim a picture that he's been working on. And while Tim says that Drew did spend a lot of time on it, the drawing looks a bit too similar to the one that Tim made. More themes of originality that we've been seeing throughout AI builds. As Tim is speaking to Drew, we can hear Mr. I in the background, telling Nicholas to keep watching.
I can help you. Drew,
What?
do you need help? I can help you.
Okay, you can help me. What do you think we should do to help get my inspiration up again? Drew? Drew? Wait. Tim. That's your name. Tim, what should we do?
We should go see Mountain Face!
Tim comes up with an idea for the two of them to go see Mountain Face, who can help them find their creativity.
Right now? I mean, it's so early in the morning.
Hey look, it's nighttime! Let's go see Mountain Face!
Somehow, in the middle of the night, Tim, Drew, and Jimmy, who is randomly here for some reason, have arrived to where Mountain Face resides. During the search for Mountain Face, Drew appears to have become overwhelmed with everything going on, and begins to break down along with the rest of the show, becoming disjointed and insanely off the rails.
Wow, look at this, Drew. It's a magnifying glass. And a
What?
fence.
Man,
I think they might be connected.
that's my bill.
If only we could find the key to this situation.
That's
We
mine.
could find Mountain Face.
You're just making stuff up now. You're just looking at stuff and you're trying to connect it together when it doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean,
What are they
sorry, I
talking
didn't mean to
about?
swear, but I'm just very on edge right now. Why don't we investigate this together?
What?
Why don't we look for clues together?
I know just where we need to start.
What was that?
Follow me, Drew.
The fuck?
Follow me. I know just where to go. I remember. I'm remembering. I remember.
What?
The episode abruptly cuts to a dark place, where Drew and Tim stand over what seems to be a mound of dirt with a shovel, or, more accurately, a freshly covered grave.
Why is there just dirt on the ground, and why are you showing me it? What is it?
Do you remember Nicholas?
What?
No. Who's Nicholas?
What?
All I know is us three: Tim, me, and Jimmy. Who's Nicholas?
You don't remember?
No. Who's Nicholas? Who is he?
Killed himself. Yeah, he killed himself. Took too many pills. We buried him here. Didn't give him a gravestone, though. He didn't deserve it. Because he was a coward. You can't just leave your friend like that. You can't just abandon everyone that you love.
What?
Because you're out of inspiration.
What?
I don't want you to end up like he did, Drew. So stay away from pills. Stay away from anything that can hurt you. 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 Please,
What?
don't end up like he did.
What the fuck?
Don't!
What the fuck?
Don't!
Well, that certainly was an ending. Mr. I is seen once again, replacing Tim and standing over the grave. On the final frame of the video, we see Mountain Face, wide-eyed and mouth agape, before the episode ends. Mr. I then begins speaking to Nicholas again throughout the credits of PCP, confirming our suspicions that he is indeed the one behind this fever dream nightmare of a children's show.
Thanks for watching. It is so much fun to share my work, especially with someone like you. You are special. We are special. I'm here for you always. I am in the house. I love to pick your brain. You should draw more. Those were good times. I love you so much. I've got my eye on you. Too obvious? You would have made Dad proud. Just remember to stay safe.
Finally, after all of that, Nicholas is able to get up from the couch that he's been unable to move from and leaves the room, absolutely distraught at what he's just witnessed.
I'm just gonna finish this shit. Just gonna finish this shit. Get it over with.
Upon rewatching, this episode really cements itself as my absolute favorite in the series. Not only is the cartoon wacky, insane, and just an overall fever dream, but it gives a bit more context as to what the overarching narrative and backstory to this entire web series really is. If we take a look at everything that we've seen, and imagine that it is all figurative representations, then what we have before us is a culmination of every bad thought and worst fear that Nicholas has ever had about himself. The struggle of originality, the pills being the cause of death, not deserving a headstone, being remembered as a coward, all of it are things that Nicholas fears will happen to him if he does end up removing himself from this realm of existence. We get our very first mention of Nicholas's father, who, according to Mr. I, would have been quite proud of him, but I don't believe that that's actually meant to be a positive thing. Overall, this episode really stands out on its own, and is a phenomenal watch from beginning to end. Nicholas finds himself on a bridge leading to an island. Hopefully, things will be a whole lot more subdued this time around. But, unfortunately for him, things are just getting started. As soon as Nicholas steps foot onto the island, the bridge disappears, leaving him stranded. A countdown begins, and just as Nicholas is about to ask what it's counting down towards,
What is it counting down to?
the game has muted Nicholas, removing the only real identifying part of himself to the audience. The only true way for Nicholas to communicate what he's actually feeling. As Nicholas bangs on his desk struggling to communicate, text on the screen appears.
Relax. You won't need your voice here. Let your mind feel free. I'll leave you to it.
And so, Nicholas begins looking for a way off the island. While exploring, a shadow of a butterfly is cast across the dunes. Nicholas sees the butterfly and chases after it before it leaves the island and flies over the ocean. As he approaches the shoreline, he stumbles across a knocked-over baby crib, a relic of a bygone childhood, just out of reach. A short time later, he discovers a white and green chair sitting on the banks. Off in the distance, a horn can be heard as a boat comes out of the fog, heading directly towards Nicholas. Nicholas begins to frantically bang on the keyboard, hoping that any button will allow him to move from his position. But they don't. As Nicholas struggles, the boat comes closer and closer until ramming directly into Nicholas and knocking him back out of the chair before disappearing entirely. I feel like I don't really need to explain the symbolism of this part. The green and white chair represents the green and white pills that Nicholas has been taking throughout the show, and once he's already interacted with them, he can't escape. No matter how many buttons he presses, no matter how desperately he bangs on his keyboard, there's no way to get out of the chair. The bloodstain on the chair cements my theory, symbolizing that if Nicholas continues to sit in the chair, to take these pills the way that he has been, it will ultimately lead him to a gruesome end. The ending that we saw in Perfect Child programming. As more time passes, a voice becomes more apparent nearby. Looking around, Nicholas spots a hand reaching out of the water. The voice begins pleading with Nicholas, stating that they're drowning and begging to be pulled out of the water. Nicholas again begins frantically slamming buttons on his keyboard, but again to no avail. As the hand begins to sink beneath the surface, it tells Nicholas,
You'll be down here too. But you can stop it.
before becoming completely submerged under the water. If the chair was a representation of the pills and the danger that Nicholas is putting himself in, then this hand is another representation of Nicholas's fate, being drowned under the weight of his own depressive thoughts, self-hatred, and his addiction to his medication. As it's becoming darker on the island, Nicholas discovers a building, a garage-esque looking building with buttons placed in front of each doorway. At the end of each hall is one of the pictures that we've seen drawn by Nicholas as a child. After looking at each drawing for a moment, Nicholas presses the first button.
Hey, it's me. You've helped paint the bigger picture. These pictures you drew for me, you drew for you, were so foggy, so confusing, so jumbled and nonsensical. But the more I've spent time with you, the more I get it. You can stop blaming yourself. You can stop hating yourself. You can stop all of this. And understand that time is limited and you can be better, and this isn't all there is. I do love you. I really do love you. So come back, please.
This is the first time in the series we've ever heard somebody talk positively to Nicholas outside of Mr. I's manipulation. It's calm, understanding, and supportive. The next button is pressed, and this time Nicholas's voice is a bit deeper, almost as if he's aged a bit.
It was scary.
when you found out what happened to him. The idea that there was no life in him anymore. You were scared, you were devastated, horrified that you'll never speak to him again. But you can't let that be all there is. You can't become that face that he had. You can be better. You can keep working, find new things to appreciate in life. Don't let the nightmares you get define you. Don't give up, please.
This scene is a massive development within the story of Animal Investigator, finally giving us the proof of what I've suspected about Mountain Face for a little while now. Mountain Face is the face of a loved one who has passed away, their lifeless face being forever etched into Nicholas's psyche. We will soon discover that this face is the face of Nicholas's father, but the voice from the button tells Nicholas to continue on, to never let himself become that face that traumatized him as a child. The third button's voice has been lowered once more, this time in front of a picture of everyone's favorite imaginary eldritch horror, Mr. I.
It's really hard to make things when it feels like everything's been done before. I know how it feels. That lonely, awful feeling that everything's been done already and you can't add anything to the table. That you'll just be laughed at, scoffed at. It hurts. Leaves scars in you. I wish I could be original. I wish I had something to say about anything. But I don't. It aches me. It fucking hurts. I wish I could share something with people. I wish I had something to say. I wish I had a voice. I wish I had a voice. I wish I had something.
This time, the voice reflects those same thoughts and self-doubts that we've heard Nicholas state about his own originality and creative works time and time again. It's not hard to imagine that this message right here is one that the Nicholas we're viewing could be thinking of at this very second, especially with the line, "I wish I had a voice." Finally, we're able to move on to the final button in front of the butterfly drawing.
But then when I'm ready to take my life, I remember that there are people that do care about me. But I never understand why they do. I try to comprehend it, but I can't mentally comprehend anybody caring about me. I have nothing, so why do people care about me? Why? Why do you care about me? Why can't you just let me die? I need to find something good about myself. I need to find it. I love you all. I really do. I love you all.
It's quite clear after listening to all of these that as Nicholas's voice gets deeper, his thoughts become darker, and his depression takes hold more and more as he tries to find a single source of good about himself or his life. One final abrupt cut happens, and Mr. I is seen standing over the island, demanding that Nicholas quit ignoring him as he begins to tell Nicholas how he truly feels.
Every inch of you. You're nothing without me. And you continue to cut me out. You don't know what's coming, Nicholas. I have so much planned for you. And everyone's gonna watch you suffer. Because you give nothing. You're nothing.
As Mr. I berates him, Nicholas gasps and chokes, struggling for air, drowning just like the man in the ocean. But just as Mr. I is about to break him, Nicholas forces his way out, and finally finds his voice.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you for everything! You don't give a fuck about me! You just take and just fucking steal everything from me! You've done nothing but take from me! Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? I hate you! I fucking hate you!
The game is glitched to a pause menu, taking both us and Nicholas out of the desolate hellhole that is Introvert Island. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of funny to think of Mr. I being jump scared by Nicholas's sudden courage so much that he has to pause the game like a Twitch streamer being scared by the game that they're streaming. We're brought to a menu where we can view the other builds from the series that we've seen so far, before the video ends. I really love this episode. If Perfect Child Programming is my favorite episode, then this one is easily my second. From the subtle moments like the overturned crib, to the reveal of Mountain Face, to the final pushback from Nicholas, this entire entry delivers on all fronts, and it's a shame that the next episode is our very last on the channel. The video begins with the same desktop from a few episodes ago, telling us that Nicholas is asleep, and that they've been doing this for you. We're told that we're free to browse around on Nicholas's computer before being brought one final time to the list of computer activities. One by one, each entry plays as almost a summary of what we've been watching within the portions of these series. In Introvert Island, Mr. I tells us that he needs Nicholas, and on this island, Nicholas will never need or want anything again. In Perfect Child Programming, the music is loud, terrifying, and just overall disturbing, just like the show that we watched during that episode. Dr. Ant's tea party just has more of the distorted dialogue coming from Mr. Ant asking us to come to his tea party. In Face Paint, Mountain Face slowly turns around to face us as distorted dialogue begins intensifying in volume.
You're only 10. And he
The age of 10 being mentioned gives us more of an idea as to why the selection screen offered only 2 ages at the very beginning of the series, 10 or 21. The terrifying event that we heard so much about in Introvert Island with the lifeless loved one happened when Nicholas was only 10 years old, and has clearly traumatized him throughout his life since then. Finally, the last option, Follow the Leader, is selected, and we return to Nicholas walking through the dense gray fog.
I'm just sick of letting him have control, you know? Like, I just need to do stuff on my own. End of story.
As Nicholas walks, he comes across a sign before hearing Mr. I's distorted voice in the distance. As Mr. I appears in the fog, Nicholas takes off in the opposite direction, taking shelter inside a small house. Nicholas waits until Mr. I is almost right on top of him before slamming the door. Before the door is closed, we can see that Mr. I is no longer the child-interpreted ball with legs that we've been seeing up until this point, but is now an even bigger, monstrous being with sharp appendages. Suddenly, the noises stop, and as Nicholas waits inside the house, Mr. I begins knocking, using specific audio hallucinations to get Nicholas to open the door.
Holy shit. Holy shit. He's gone. What?
Come on, Nicholas.
What?
Come on. Open the door. Open it. Open the door. What are you waiting for? I'm your best friend. Why are you not letting me in? Nicholas.
Go away.
Nicholas.
Nicholas!
Go away. Go away. Go
Open the
away.
door! Open the door!
Go away.
Open the door!
Go away.
Open the door!
The voices of Mr. I, Tim and Drew from PCP, and even the deeper version of his own voice from Introvert Island all plead for Nicholas to let them in before the video abruptly cuts. When it returns, Nicholas gasps and looks around the room. All is quiet, but only for a moment.
Fuck! Stop! Stop it!
Nicholas hides in the corner of the room, sobbing to himself. A moment later, Mr. I attempts to once again emotionally manipulate Nicholas, stating that he doesn't want to hurt him before sliding a piece of paper under the doorway for Nicholas to read, just like back in the Memories video.
I don't want to hurt you. I just want you to have what you had before. You remember what you had. You were so alive. Everything you made was special. It was yours. It wasn't anyone else's. It was your own personal stuff. I still have this. Take a look at it.
When Nicholas picks up the paper, we're greeted with a series of childhood drawings depicted like a comic book, telling the story of Nicholas's father, and finally laying out the story of events as to what truly traumatized Nicholas all those years ago. Mom, why is Dad acting weird?
He's just trying to feel good.
He keeps yelling.
I know.
The second page shows tears falling from presumably young Nicholas's eyes.
I'm sorry. Stay in the room.
The last panel on the second page shows us an open door with multiple exclamation marks above, with the word STOP capitalized. Nicholas finds Mr. I's attempts amusing as he goes through the pages, telling Mr. I that this comic is nothing to him.
No. You can't use this against me. This is nothing.
Turning to the final page, we see a door slam shut as a tearful young Nicholas watches on, with the phrase "open the door" written underneath the final comic panel, trailing off to the bottom corner. Nicholas laughs and states that he can easily get rid of this comic. And so he does, burning the comic and leaving behind the traumatic events within. Nicholas checks the windows, searching for any sign of Mr. I, before opening the door and running away from the house, laughing and sprinting into the same dense gray fog that once held the monster that he was so terrified of, as the video and the Animal Investigator series comes to an end. Well, mostly. You see, on March 31st, 2021, a channel known as Film Student Thoughts uploaded their very first video analysis on the movie The Elephant Man to their channel. The video seems to be a simple short essay breakdown about the movie, but quickly devolves into a parody of these sorts of videos.
John Merrick
a man who in real life was stomped on by elephants, is portrayed incredibly profoundly well by the actor John Hurt, whose name is probably a reference to how John constantly gets hurt throughout this film due to his ugliness. Around the middle of the film, John Merrick is compared to Romeo during a beautifully constructed scene in which this woman kisses him on the face to make him feel loved. Now, if you're not into the theatrical arts, you might not know how Romeo and Juliet ends.
The same seems to be true with the next video analysis, the movie Her. Throughout the video, the narrator talks about difficulties of finding love, and begins bringing up their own thoughts as to why he relates to this movie so much. Feeling unnoticed by the people around them, their inability to find a relationship, isolating themselves in their dorm, etc. On the surface, there isn't really any sort of connection between this channel and the AI Builds channel that we've been looking at for so long. That is, until near the end of the final analysis.
If you don't mind, I'd like to take a quick break from the film analysis to show you some drawings that I made when I was a child. This one I called Mr. I. I drew him after feeling like people were watching me judgingly while I was walking to class one day. This one I called Mountain Face, which I didn't put my name on for some reason. I wish I could remember why. This one is Dr. Ant. I named him after my doctor who prescribes my medication. And this one is a beautiful butterfly, which reminds me of my childhood happiness. Interpreting these films feels like looking back on my old drawings. I feel like I'm close to cracking what the purpose was, but my mind won't let me reach the conclusions. And that's what Her is all about. Her continues to take everything away from me. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so this indeed is the same Nicholas that we have been following the whole time. And it seems like he's finally moving on with his life and trying new avenues to grow his creativity in the form of film reviews. But just like all of that trauma from so long ago, those memories have stuck with him, and now they're beginning to seep out of the depths from where he's been hiding them. The final video on the Film Student Thoughts channel revolves around Nicholas stating how much he really likes the movie Cloverfield, but this review is far from the well-analyzed parody that we witnessed with The Elephant Man. In fact, this video is barely even an essay at all.
Hello everybody! Today I would like to talk about my favorite horror film of all time, Cloverfield. The reason I love Cloverfield so much is the big monster. Big monsters are really scary, and I found the monster really, really scary, and
Nicholas. Please. Please. Please.
Clearly, Mr. I hasn't gone anywhere, bringing all of Nicholas's self-doubts, fears, and criticisms with him into each and every new passion project that Nicholas begins, and now he's made his way into the Film Student Thoughts channel. The ending is a bit strange, though. As Mr. I begins the same old song and dance of asking Nicholas to let him in, a baby surrounded by what I can only describe as a meat grave fades in from the darkness before the video cuts off. And just like that, the Animal Investigator Build series comes to an end. For real this time. What a friggin' wild ride, huh? The entire series is enthralling, captivating, horrifying, and beautiful in so many ways. But Astro, I hear you in the back row balcony asking, what's the story? What's your theory about Animal Investigator? Well, here's the thing. I haven't really got a theory for you tonight. To me, it seems as though this series has a straightforward, clear, definitive story that requires very little theory crafting in order to figure it out. When Nicholas was just 10 years old, Nicholas's father came home angry, presumably either high on illegal narcotics or drunk. His mother shut Nicholas in his room and went to go face his father. It's unknown as to what happened to his mother, but the father seems to die from an overdose and is discovered by Nicholas. Now, many years later, Nicholas begins developing a new game known as Animal Investigator, a game that seems to heavily be inspired by, if not a straight copy, of a game that Nicholas grew up playing called Animal Police. Nicholas begins recording his build progress as he works on the game, but seems to constantly dissatisfied with his own work and emphasizes that the build will be better with every new update. Trees being put in randomly, cutscenes that may or may not exist, until eventually we discover the culprit of these changes, Mr. I, a creature created by Nicholas that represents the anxiety he constantly feels about people watching him, his fears of letting people down, and the fear of being judged by others. He begins emotionally manipulating Nicholas, pleading with him to open the door to his own mind and let Mr. I in, along with all of the depression, anxiety, and panic-inducing thoughts. Once he succeeds, Mr. I goes on to torment Nicholas, showing him images of his deceased father, recordings of Nicholas being overcome by the presence of Mr. I, and even his own medical pills, a representation of the very thing that took his father's life, and, if he's not careful, might very well take his own. After living through what seems to be an endless nightmare of torment, verbal abuse, and the never-ending gaze of Mr. I, Nicholas finally finds his voice, taking back control and forcing Mr. I and the side effects out of his mind. But Nicholas's demons aren't quite finished with him yet. Mr. I tries once more to emotionally manipulate Nicholas into letting him back in, even bringing up the source of all of this trauma front and center in the form of a comic book. But Nicholas, determined to overcome this, refuses to let this memory define him, and finally opens the door. But this time, it's not for Mr. I to come in, but it is for him to get out and come to terms with the trauma that has defined him for so long. And so, he finally escapes, running off into the night, seemingly free of Mr. I. Until just a year later, when Nicholas attempts to find a new passion for himself in the form of film and movie reviews. But in the end, Nicholas can never truly escape his inner feelings. They are a part of his life and forever will be, whether he lets them in or not. That's why Mr. I makes an appearance in the Cloverfield review. It represents that no matter where you go or what you do, all of those negative thoughts, experiences, and anxieties will follow you, and it is your job to constantly overcome them. Animal Investigator is an absolutely phenomenal web series. Never before have I seen these feelings and messages portrayed in a series this way, and it really resonates with me deeper than I ever thought it would. I grew up with the same constant fear portrayed in AI builds. The fear of being judged, the fear of being watched, and the fear that no matter what you do, it will never be as good as something that has already been done, and that originality is beyond our grasp. Even while writing this script and writing this last couple paragraphs, I felt those exact feelings. I mentioned earlier how Sagan Hawks made a video about Animal Investigator and the concept of originality. And while you should absolutely go and give that video a watch, after viewing it myself, I felt like my opinion of the series didn't matter as much anymore. But then I reached the end of that video. I won't spoil it here, but the words spoken in the last 15-20 minutes refueled my creativity. What does it matter that someone else has already talked about this series? What does it matter that a lot of my feelings on the topic have already been said? My voice matters, and so does yours. So I guess if there's one thing that I want you to take away from tonight, it's this. Just create. Don't fear failure, and keep pushing forward. Who knows, maybe you'll become the next phenomenon that others take their own inspiration from. Or make cheap copies of. I want to thank you all for watching through this entire video. If you've made it this far, you are an absolute trooper. I really want to apologize for how long it's been since my last upload. It's been a crazy couple of months. I was not expecting anything to be as crazy as it was. However, after this video, I think I'm going to pick a smaller topic to talk about. I found a lot of projects that I want to talk about that have really flown under the radar. Some great pieces of work from such small creators that I really want to use my audience to kind of shove them into the light and show them a little bit of love. So, expect a couple small videos after this one, but I won't stay away from the long form content for too long. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I really hope to see you in the near future. And until next time, I'll see you around.